me ask you a question. When is it okay not to show up for work? Like, I want you to think about this for a second. You know what? When is it okay? Like, I show up every day here. You may like the show. You may not like the show. You may like what we say. You may not like what we say. But every day that you show up and are getting paid, you must do the job with enthusiasm that you're getting paid to do. I mean, it just makes sense. Dylan and Ryan, every day, I get interesting stuff. I get ideas. We talk before and after the show. But I got to tell you, Anthony Davis, you're making $30 million a year, and you didn't show up last night. And don't tell me, I don't want to hear about numbers. I don't want to hear, well, he had 11 points, 7. He had one more rebound on the offensive end than a dead man. A dead man. He had one more offensive rebounds than me. And I was at St. Luke's Church last night speaking to 400 freaking people. I went too long, and I apologize. I did. I went too long. I love doing it, and I went too long. But, hey, what are you going to do? I made you laugh, so get off my ass. But the truth of the matter is Anthony Davis just didn't show up for work. He didn't show up for work. I'm watching the game last night. It would be like this. It would be like if I started this show and said, well, welcome to Don't At Me. We're really excited that you're here. We think it's great that you're here. We really are glad that you're here. We're going to have a big show. The Warriors won 127 to 110. That's what it would be like. That's what Anthony Davis was like last night. Hey, we're not asking you to dig a ditch, big fella. We're not asking you to cure cancer. We're not asking you to split the atom. You know what we're asking you to do? Play a little hoops for $40 million. Play a little hoops. Show up. Ball out. Have a good time. Play a little basketball. Help your teammates. Well, today, New Mexico State victims are speaking out on the horrible stuff that happened. The Warriors, they won. That's exciting. Vince is going to join us because Vince always wins me money on the Derby at 10:45. That's what Anthony Davis was last night. I'm telling you. That's what he was. Klay Thompson's out there balling. Steph Curry's 12 assists, 20 points. He's Magic Johnson. He's hitting shots, falling on his backside. He's getting the crowd going. Anthony Davis has a good game the other day. I'm like Dick Vitale here. I'm throwing my hands all over the place. 30 points, 23 rebounds, and he mails it in yesterday. It's why people can't trust the NBA. It's why the average fan loves the NBA playoffs, but can't trust the NBA on a night-to-night basis. You just can't. You don't know who's going to show up. I've always given LeBron James credit. For the most part, you never see LeBron James take a night off. And he's never wanted to act like Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant tried to develop Michael Jordan's mannerisms. Right? I've always said Kobe Bryant played, greats play. You play every night. The great broadcasters. What has two thumbs and is a great broadcaster? This guy. The great broadcasters, we show up every day. Hey, some days we're trying to build a show here. It takes time, takes years. Some days you all watch. Some days you don't. Some days you're here. Some days you're not. The YouTube chat shows up every day. The YouTube chat shows up every single day. And they do it with enthusiasm, and they do it with interest, and they don't screw around. But Anthony Davis, hey, look, I was with a buddy of mine. I know he watches the first 5 minutes of our show at least every day. His name is Jim Snyder. We called him the Duke. Duke Snyder, back in the day. Yeah, he's like, I catch the first 5 minutes, and, I love the enthusiasm. Then he's got to go to work. Well, I got to bring the first 5 minutes every single time, and if I don't, screw me. I wouldn't want you guys to watch. You shouldn't watch. But Anthony Davis didn't do squat last night. And I got to tell you, what's the right word? I'll tell you the right word. It pisses me off. It does. These dudes are being paid so much money. And if you watch Anthony Davis's body language, It's like a child. Seriously, it was a child. 11 points, one more offensive rebounds than a dead man. I got 2 words for you. My backside. That's what I got for you, AD, street clothes. You know what it's almost like? And somebody put this out today. Would you agree with this? It's almost like the entire NBA, the guys that are below Steph, below Giannis, below LeBron, below who else would it be? Maybe Embiid, but not really, because Embiid's still a child. But the guys that are adults, I think this is true. They have to be motivated by Charles Barkley and Shaq. Now, seriously, every time Charles Barkley and Shaq go wild on these guys, well, all of a sudden, everybody's trying to play. All of a sudden, everybody's balling out. All of a sudden, these guys are like, well, I'll show you. Kevin Durant must have Charles Barkley, Kenny, and Shaq on like a reel. Because that's all he does is worry about them. I got to tell you, I'm fascinated by it. I really am. That guy didn't ball. That guy didn't ball at all. Mike Budenholzer was fired. I don't know if you know who Mike Budenholzer is, and that's probably a good thing. Mike Budenholzer just won. I want you to think about this. Just won a Big Ten title, or a Big Ten, an NCAA. What is wrong with me? An NBA title 2 years ago with the Milwaukee Bucks. And he gets fired this year after having, think about this, the best record in the East. Yes, they lost in the first round. Yes, no owner wants to lose in the first round. Yes, that's an issue. Yes, on every single thing. All right? But the dude just won a championship. I had a friend of mine in the NBA tell me, Dan, don't be surprised by this. The NBA is trying to get 100% African-American coaches. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. The players are running it. Now, he's in the NBA. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know this. If you're firing Mike Budenholzer after this year where he won the most games and 2.5 games is what Giannis missed in the playoffs, I don't know. He may not be wrong. Not sure he's right. Not sure he's wrong. We'll see. But it sure seems that way. I mean, I heard a guy today say, well, you know, I understand why you would fire Mike Budenholzer. Guy on Twitter, some basketball idiot. Some guy named Rob Douster who was like a Division III idiot. Really? So explain why you would fire Mike Budenholzer. Just won a championship, just had the best record in the league. I mean, unless you're an idiot, which this guy is, then I don't know that it's possible to come to the conclusion that that guy should have been fired. I'm just saying. It amazes me what goes on. The idea that you've got to, win a championship every year? You've got to keep every player happy every year is insane to me. It's literally insane. And again, what do we do here? We judge you by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. And I got to tell you, I'm just shocked at what the hell's going on. That guy gets fired 2 years after winning a championship. His brother just died, which really doesn't factor into it. Okay, they lose in the first round, but they lose, and the best player on the team, and in the NBA, the best player on the team matters. It matters. He was out for 2.5 games. Write this down. I'm making the betting line. Congratulations, yesterday. Our guy, our friend of the show, friend of mine, Pat McAfee, had a baby. He had a baby girl. And I'm really excited for Pat McAfee because Pat McAfee is as excited as anybody I've ever seen. Lee just walked up here to give me a cup of coffee. I've been trying to get her to have a baby for years. It would take a lot of reversal of stuff. You know what I mean? And it would not be the greatest move for either of us because today, we'd like to go play golf, or we'd like to go roll around in the grass, or we might have the sex in the afternoon. I don't know. I don't care. But the fact of the matter is, Pat McAfee had a kid, and I'm excited for Pat Mac. But here's what I've done. Pat McAfee is being sued by Brett Favre, he and Shannon Sharpe, because Brett Favre, when he did his dealings with Mississippi, he feels like he was unjustly targeted by Pat McAfee and by Shannon Sharpe. He feels that they slandered him, libel. It's tough. Most of these, 99% of them, don't go to court. I got sued for it. I remember laughing. I'm like, hey, what are you going to do? I told the truth. People get mad, they get mad, get mad. But there were some really rich dudes that were doing the suing, never went to court. But you're not officially a talk show host unless you get sued. See, here's the deal. When I was coming up and I wanted to get into this after coaching, I looked at a couple people. Those of you in Indianapolis and maybe across the country will know the names Bob and Tom. Bob and Tom, iconic morning show here not only in Indianapolis but across the country. When I was at Indiana and I would drive to work in Bloomington, I would listen to Bob and Tom. And in listening to Bob and Tom, when Brad Garrett, the brother in Raymond, that Raymond show with Ray Romano, was the funniest dude ever. I would sit in my car and laugh my you-know-whats off. Bob and Tom did two things. One, Bob and Tom got sued early in their career. And two, they always did something in the community. They were always great in the community. Howard Stern was another guy that I liked. I thought Howard Stern was fun. I thought Howard Stern was interesting. Jim Rome the same. And they're always getting sued. I shouldn't say always getting sued, but they got sued. So I got sued, and I wore it as a badge of honor. Now, I'm not sure my company did, although when I left Emmis, the CEO, the great Jeff Smolian, made fun of it, said, well, now our legal department can relax because Dakich is out. So you got to get sued. So McAfee and Sharpe are getting sued by Brett Favre. I've put the betting line. The favorite is McAfee and Sharpe. They just filed motions to get the suit dismissed. I'm putting the betting line at minus 150 that they either win, that they don't pay a dime to this clown, Brett Favre. That's what I'm putting it at. Hey, I could be wrong. I remember Jay Billis, when I was being sued, I go, hey, Billis, you think, nothing's going to happen? You know what I mean? Nothing's going to happen. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it did, and that's fine. But I'm putting the betting line at minus 150. That nothing happens here, and McAfee and everybody Sharpe and everybody goes about their business. Well, and congratulations to Pat McAfee. You guys don't know the name Vince Lodel. Vince Lodel is my friend. Vince Lodel is the best guy on a team at ESPN. He does all the big football games. He does all the big basketball games, and you'll never hear of him. He's in the truck. I don't even know what he does. I think he's the graphics guy. But he's my friend. We own horses together. He's the best horse handicapper that I know. He's coming on the show at 10:45. First time I used Vince Lodel. We won the Derby. We won a trifecta. Well, I won. I drove downtown because we couldn't bet legally here in the state to the Winner's Circle, it's called. I told my brother, I go, hey, we won big. I don't know what we won, but we won big. So I go to the window, I got our tickets, I give it to him, and the lady hands me a piece of paper. Now, if you are a horse gambler, the greatest thing that can happen to you at the window is somebody handing you a piece of paper. Why, you ask? Because that piece of paper is a tax form. I don't want to be taxed, you say. No, yeah, you do. Why? Because you won so much money, they got to tax you on it. Lady, first time in my life, hands me a tax form. I'm like, all right. $8,600 is what we won with Vince. I ended up, after taxes, having 63 crisp $100 bills in my pocket on a $200 bet because of my man Vince on the Derby. Preakness, we won another $1,400. He's been a little cold since then, but I don't care. I'll go to the well with Vince. He's going to come on at 10:45. He is going to tell you if you just want to have fun with the Derby, if you just want a $100 bet, that's what I do. He gives me how to bet the Derby on $100, and what he does is give you how he bets it. I don't understand it, all these different bets, but I get my brother involved. We double it. We go to about $300. I put $150 in. My brother puts $150 in. And you know what? We've won as much as $8,300. We've lost. We've won $1,400. We've won $800. We've won $600. We've won at different times. So if you want somebody to do the work for you, he's going to do the work for you. And you YouTube guys and gals, if you want me to email you Vince's picks, I will do that. So he's got the Oaks. He's got the Derby. He sent it to me yesterday. I'm going to try if I can do it because I love our email or I love our YouTube chat. If you want to send me, DM me, tweet me, I will get Vince's picks. I'll put it out on Twitter and I'll figure out a way to put it out here on the OutKick channel so you don't have to do all that crap. All right? There you go. I want us to win money. I want all of us to win scratch. When you listen to our show, you are supposed to, ladies and gentlemen, you are supposed to win money, period. Charlie is going to join us coming up here in a little bit, our newest member of our great team, Charlie Arnold. You can follow her, Charlie on TV. This is the weirdest story ever, and I'm getting to this before Charlie. All right. You know, everything that you do is under surveillance. Like everything you do. Make no mistake, it's under surveillance. Like, I don't care where you go. So the baseball coach, Brad Bohannon at Alabama, he gets fired. You know, this is since our show. Okay? So he gets fired. And people are saying, well, the release is vague. He was, for, among other things, violated the standards, the duties, blah, 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 of the Alabama office. Great. I don't care. Wonderful. Pull this, it plays Jingle Bells. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? I don't care. But here's the deal. They have surveillance video of this guy. Listen to this. I know some of you are Cincinnati Reds fans. Listen to this. He is caught on video. The guys that are placing the bets are on video at Great American Ballpark where they have a sports book in Cincinnati. They connect phone records to the guys that are on video placing these big bets. Guess whose phone it was? Allegedly. I read it this morning. This guy here, Bohannon. How about that? How about that action? So this guy thinks he's being slick. He's going to get a little extra candy. Maybe he's in trouble. I don't know. But whatever he did, it got traced back to him. Now, here's the deal. There's always a first. You know, there's a first time you have the sex. There's a first time you steal something. There's a first time you make a phone. There's a first. Everything's a first. Well, this is a first, ladies and gentlemen, I think. I've never heard of this before in sports, where the actual guy running the team is going to be caught or is caught making or helping or abetting the actual bet. So why am I mentioning it's the first? Well, what kind of example legally is going to be made here out of old Skip? What kind of example is going to be made? What's going to happen in the judicial system to this guy? Is he going to be made an example of? Now, remember this. There is always this little caveat, something called interstate betting. Intra, whatever, which means you did this across state lines, which further means you got more trouble. And then let's talk about Alabama, shall we? I mean, Alabama just had the guy running football, or at least the chief of staff or whatever he was, the assistant AD. He decided it was okay to get physical with his wife. Oh, okay. All right. So he gets arrested. Oh, okay. Very nice. You got the whole Brandon Miller thing where he and others on the basketball team are involved. You got the kid, the wide receiver, smacking the freaking girl on the field, which is so ridiculous that Nick Saban did absolutely nothing, zero zip about it. I'm not surprised. That's Saban, but what the hell? So at the end of the day, what are we doing here? At the end of the day in Alabama, I guess it just means more that we're going to bet on it. I guess it just means more that, you know what, we in every area are going to have a problem. It's fascinating to me. No, it is. It's truly, truly fascinating to me that we're sitting here at a time when gambling is legal. Gambling is legal, and you still screw it up. How stupid can you be? Like, I have a friend who's still in the state of Indiana. In Indiana, this guy still bets with bookies. I got about 10 of these guys. And I look at him and I go, are you idiots? They're letting you do this, right? They're letting you. They're saying, okay, it's okay to do this. It's all right. And you're still dumb enough that you are running the risk of getting caught old school with a bookie. Look, my neighborhood was full of bookies, my neighborhood, and I watched one family in particular, the entire family, mom, dad, brother, sister, get put in paddy wagons. I didn't even know what the hell paddy wagons were. I thought it was the dog catcher. They got put in paddy wagons. And I'm sitting there watching everybody crying as they go out. I'm like, what the hell? It is the funniest thing that I have seen in a long, long time, maybe ever. Whole family in a paddy wagon, and people are still doing it, including this idiot that is coaching Alabama baseball. I got to tell you, I don't get it. I don't want to get it. But the world is interesting. All right. Charlie Arnold joins us. She, ladies and gentlemen, is the newest and greatest addition, I would argue, to all of us clowns here at OutKick. Here's the deal. All right, I got to ask you this from a woman's perspective. I got to ask you a couple things.
Go for it.
First of all, Anheuser-Busch, hang on a second. What does Anheuser...
I'm sorry, I had to comment on our matching today, Dan. I just thought we looked great together.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What does Anheuser-Busch have to do to get itself right with women? What do they got to do?
You know, I think it's the same with all these other companies that just try to use women that are actually men to sell their products when there are so many phenomenal spokeswomen out there or models out there who are truly women that it's beginning just to be so insulting. Like, I'm sorry, you want to celebrate girlhood, you want to celebrate womanhood, you want to celebrate being a woman, you want to celebrate what it means to be a woman, what we go through on a daily basis, getting ourselves ready. It just, use a woman. It's so insulting to feel like we're not now good enough when we spent decades and decades and decades trying to prove our worth, that we are equal to men. And now suddenly a man comes into a woman's space, and just like that, he's already better than all of us women who have existed for so many years and have been pulling our end of the bargain. I have no words for it. I will not be drinking Bud Light. In fact, Dan, it was very funny because when I checked into my hotel here in Nashville, that's where I am for these few days, because I'm filling out on Hot Mic. I was on yesterday. I'll be on again today, 3 to 6 Eastern, along with Jonathan Hutton. And I walked in, and it was so funny because the hotel is right on the strip where all of the country bars are. And they handed me a token and they said, this is good for one Bud Light. And I was like, really? One Bud Light? You're still selling those here. But it's just funny because it's gotten to the point now where clearly they have to give away the Bud Lights. Like, that's the little token favor they're giving to guests. And I have a feeling, Dan, that a lot of guests are not redeeming their tokens for a free Bud Light right now.
What'd you do with it?
I still have it. As of this moment, I'm just going to keep it as a little memento to remember this egregious time in history.
Hey, Charlie, do yourself a favor, swear to God. Don't ever compare clothes with me. I am literally the worst dressed human being. So what I would do if we are dressed as twins, I would burn your outfit if it's even resembling this look, because I'm the worst dressed human being alive ever.
I would argue that we have recently seen some worse dressed humans, Dylan Mulvaney on that subject being one of them. So I think, Dan, that if now we can call you second worst, if nothing else.
Yeah. I would argue the worst dressed people in America just showed up at the Met Gala. You are a woman about town. You are a socialite. You are somebody that when you go out, it's paparazzi, it's bottle service, it's velvet ropes. How was the Met Gala? How did you do? What did you think? Who were you wearing?
Well, during the Met Gala, what was I? Oh, I was wearing, actually, I was on television during the Met Gala, but it was on Hannity. But I was wearing an Alice and Olivia dress, which is one of my favorite designers. It was a very Versace-esque vibe. And so that was it. I styled myself. I had the lovely hair and makeup department at Fox, getting me glammed up. So it was definitely a red carpet affair for me. And it was great. I had a few favorites on the actual red carpet, though. Some of which received a little bit of pushback, but I will say Chanel, Dan, represented very nicely during this year's Met Gala. Chanel.
Who?
I know you know about Chanel, the designer Chanel.
I thought Chanel was
Your wife
perfume.
knows about Chanel. I know that.
Yeah. Oh, I guarantee. Wait, isn't Chanel perfume? Don't we spray it on? Chanel number 5.
Well, Chanel it's a design house, so they make everything. They have clothing, they have handbags, they have jewelry, perfume. They have it all, and it's one of the greatest brands. So if you're in the doghouse, speaking of your paddy wagon, I loved you thought it was a dog catcher. If you find yourself in a little bit of trouble, always turn to Chanel. I would like to give that advice to every man out there. It's expensive, but I guarantee the payback afterwards will be worth it.
Yeah, baby. And speaking as an old man, you like the payback. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. It comes in many different forms.
People don't know that you're a hell of a stand-up comic.
I thank you for that. It's been a little while since I've gotten back on stage in that regard, but I always have a blast, and I try to insert little jokes here and there in everyday life. Sometimes people appreciate them. Many times they don't, as you can probably attest.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah. Hey, I got to go a couple different directions with you, okay? You're starting a show. It's going to be terrific. I said last night, I'm watching the NBA, and I'm watching Anthony Davis, who played great in the first game. Yesterday, he didn't even show up to work. He had one more rebound than a dead man. You've been on TV. You've hosted. Where you gotta, and I don't care whether it's basketball or our job or the job I previously had, you gotta show up to work with some enthusiasm every freaking day, don't you?
Absolutely. But one of the big questions that they were asking him after game 1, knowing that Anthony Davis doesn't have, all the fuel in the tank that he used to, and he's very injury prone, and he just doesn't play very well, generally speaking, from one game to the next, back-to-backs. There was the question about having enough rest ahead of game 2, and his answer was, we'll worry about resting on Wednesday, which was, the day in between. And clearly that was, a little bit of, I guess, an insight into where he's at this point in his career. He's just not able to bounce back like he used to be. And I think we saw that again last night when meanwhile we were expecting the Warriors to come out with incredible force, because just like they did in the last series, when they were on the verge of losing that series to the Kings, we saw Steph come out and score 50 points. So I think last night was the expectation that I had. It turned out exactly the way I thought it would. So we'll see what happens in game 3, but I'm glad
Did
we
it
have
really?
ourselves a series because the Lakers, especially LeBron James, as you know, when he's, gone up 2-0 in a series, he generally will pull off the win there. So I'm glad we have everything back where it should be.
All right. Again, you are New York City. You are downtown Manhattan, East Village, Soho. I only know a few names. I don't really know a lot of the places.
Very good.
But the New York Knicks, and this is interesting to me because you do live there. Now, you haven't been there. I know you've been here. But the New York Knicks and the fans of New York have lost their freaking minds. Like, they win a game and they're out on 7th Avenue or 6th Avenue. And is there a vibe in New York about this Knicks team that maybe the country doesn't know about?
Yeah, it's always how it is. There's an energy that when the Knicks do well, New York City goes into a different mode. It's like they're thriving. And it doesn't happen with any other teams. I mean, it doesn't happen with the Giants, doesn't happen with the Yankees. Meanwhile, I mean, those are, I would say, arguably the 2 other largest teams in the city. No offense to the Mets and Jets fans out there. But yeah, no, the Knicks put New York on a different setting. So when they're doing well, New Yorkers are doing well. Yeah, so there's definitely a different energy to the city. And as you can see just by who's sitting courtside at the games, I mean, the Met Gala, forget the Met Gala, sitting courtside at a Knicks game is where the real celebrities are. Like, that's where really people, are donning their best and like really showing up. So I always find that fun to see who's sitting at the Knicks games. And, you can tell that's where everyone wants to be right now.
I know. And, everybody always says that. And it's been a while.
Wait, Dan, did you get a look? I have to ask you, did you get a look at Aaron Rodgers the other night at the Knicks game when they showed him on the Jumbotron? He looks like he lost 10 years. I mean, he looks so much younger.
Yeah.
He looks so refreshed. I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. And you know what? If I were a Green Bay fan, I'd be pissed. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what the hell? Like, all of a sudden, wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was at training camp. He was at OTA. By the way, can I just say, I did get a look at him, but I don't know if this is sexist. I don't know if this is misogynist, but I'm going to say it anyway. I want whatever Jessica Alba's having. Because Jessica Alba, you talk about not, go ahead. Speak on this, lady.
No, Dan, I legitimately sent out a tweet that very night. I was like, I need all of Jessica Alba's beauty secrets right now because she looked incredible. Incredible. I even had to look up her age because I was like, how old is this woman? Because she looks the exact same as when I watched her back in that movie Honey when I was in high school, and then immediately went and got my hair cut exactly like she had in the movie because I've always been so obsessed with her. So I am on the same page with you. Jessica Alba is doing something right. So we need to find out what that is. And then we all she's 42.
How old is she?
42.
She been around a long time. Like,
she has.
I thought Aaron Rodgers was a little giggly around her, and I don't even know if he was around her, but however they framed it, they seemed like Aaron Rodgers got a little giggly maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was around Jessica Alba, I would have gotten a little giggly, so I have to imagine he did as well. And I think he's single, right? I know he was dating that actress for a long time, but I think he's single now that he's in New York, and it's probably a good thing because there's lots of nice options, I'm sure, at his disposal in New York right now.
Let me stay with this topic because this is a topic that I love. I subscribe to People magazine. I do, but only because I can do the crossword puzzle. It's the only crossword puzzle that I can do. I watch Sex and the City. I know what's going on around New York City. So does a guy like Aaron Rodgers, all right, who's the new star in town, can he go out in the city? Like, can he go to, I don't know. I don't even know if nightclubs still exist with COVID. I don't know. But can he go out? Would he get mobbed? Or are New Yorkers like, we've seen it. Is what it is.
Yeah, no, there are definitely some places. So the big thing in New York right now, they're members clubs. They're popping up all over the place. So you have to have a membership to go. It costs several $1,000s a year, but once you're a member, you have access to go whenever you want. But celebrities don't have to have memberships themselves. Although I'm sure now living in New York, someone like Aaron Rodgers may get a membership. Although he probably wouldn't need to. But yeah, these are places where they can go, and there are strict policies as to you can't take any photos. You're really not allowed to approach anybody unless you know them, and it's a conversation that's, you know, asked for on both ends. So those are kind of safe havens for a lot of celebrities. For example, I was just out at a members club a few weeks ago and I saw Tom Brady there. And no one was mobbing him. He was just having a meal, minding his own business. So yeah, places like that are safe for Aaron Rodgers. But I also have to imagine that there's going to be a lot of restaurants he's going to want to try out. And, you know, he'll be seated in a, you know, more of a back corner or a little bit more of a private table where people will still maybe get a glimpse of him walking in. But I think for the most part, a lot of people will be respectful. I think it's maybe on the streets. You might see people just like trying to grab a quick photo of him. But I never have personally encountered a situation where I've seen a celebrity get absolutely mobbed. So, I also have never gotten mobbed, but I guess that's I'm not on the same level as Aaron Rodgers.
Well, let me tell you something. OutKick changes your life. As soon as the show starts, it's going to be insane. I mean, I can't walk out my back porch.
Really?
Right here. I mean, people are look. There's a guy right there with a camera outside my window right now. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Tell that guy I say hello. You know, tell him to watch the morning show. OutKick when it launches this fall.
Yeah, I look. Hey, pal. Hey, she's not here, okay? She's not here. She's on a Zoom. Go away. Go. All right. Yeah. Well, Lee's got cookies for you in front, so you'll be all right. All right. Last thing to get to. When does the morning show start? And you are hosting, it's today, right? You're hosting Hot Mic on all these same networks.
Is that mine?
Look, to start this interview with you, people thought I was being rude to you. I wasn't. I couldn't hear, so when I can't hear, I kind of the audio was screwed up, the video was screwed up, and now it's flashing. So it's not your screen.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's what's happening.
Okay, sorry.
Here.
I thought I had like some weird screen popped up for me. Okay, so the new show.
You did.
So there's not a hard launch date yet, but it will be sometime before football season. So realistically, we're probably looking at mid August, we'll say. So that's kind of our goal launch date, sometime in there, but before football season. So, you know, when everyone's really itching for all of their sports news and also the latest and greatest and everything else that's going on, that is what the time frame is looking like as of right now. But it's going to be great. I'm super excited. We've already put a lot of thought into the show, so I'm just excited to see what we come up with in its finality.
Yeah, I got to apologize to you. The people on my YouTube chat are saying that I acted rude to you in the beginning. I didn't mean to. I was mad that I couldn't see you, and my audio had gone out when we started the show. So I would never be rude to Charlie. Are you insane? What's wrong with you people?
No, and I would never. And Dan, also remember, like we go way back. People don't realize we speaking of stand-up comedy, we shared a stand-up comedy stage together years ago. And not only that, but the reason I've been able to make it so far in this industry and even make it through these past few weeks at that, because people are coming for me in many different senses. It's because I have very thick skin. So you yelling at me, even if that was the case, I don't think would be the straw to break the camel's back. I've come a long way, and I think it's going to take a lot more than that to make me cry.
Apparently, I made facial expressions. They're saying no yelling. I made facial. I'm like, I don't know. I was trying to hear, and I was pissed because I couldn't. The thing was screwed up. But so all you YouTubers, stop it. All right, Hot Mic today. What do you got on the show?
We just got the story lineup coming down the pipeline. So there's a lot that's going on, a lot of which you probably have touched on your show. And, just being here in Nashville, it's Taylor Swift weekend. We're in the beginning stages of 3 nights in a row of Taylor Swift concerts. So, I'm looking forward to regrouping because you can tell I'm a little tired. It was very loud outside my hotel room last night. It was every hour I was woken up by some commotion.
Hey, let me ask you, what I haven't looked at this. I'm going to look at this. We had Ted Cruz on, and he's doing this thing where he's going to reduce the fees or expose the fees, and Taylor Swift is the reason because her prices are crazy, right? With Ticketmaster, it's insane with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, the secondary ticket market right now, I think I heard that it's $900 for upper nosebleed tickets behind the stage. So I'm talking, you're all the way up there and you're behind where she's performing. So you don't even see anything. You might as well be listening at home on your Spotify or whatever else, because it's not even worth being there. But yeah, there are lunatics out there who are being forced, if they really love Taylor Swift that much, to pay $900. I will not be there. I will be settling into a restaurant for some dinner tonight, and that will be it. But yeah, it's gotten really outrageous. And I actually, you feel bad for the Taylor Swift fans who really, really want to go and can't afford to.
Don't drink the, well, you should drink the moonshine, but don't drink it with Chad or don't drink it with Jonathan, because you're sitting there at 6th and Peabody, and next thing you know, I don't know. It's mayhem. It's Broadway. It's insanity down. You know what I think you should? I'm not sure what, I'm going to take suggestions on what Charlie should do with the coin, the Bud Light, the free Bud Light coin. I'm going to take suggestions on that. I think, I don't know. Last night I went to I gave a speech at this dinner, and all they had was Stella and Michelob Ultra, and I refused. I stayed with, because both are Anheuser-Busch products. I am on the boycott.
Oh,
I will not drink the stuff. I won't do it.
Wait, I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, Stella and Ultra.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. Okay, that's interesting, because I was actually walking down the street yesterday, right in the midst of all, the bar district here in Nashville, and there was a bar that had in the windows lit up beer signs and the neon signs, those ones, and there was, Miller Lite, Coors Light, another one, and then they had Michelob Ultra. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going out of their way to not put Bud Light, which they clearly are. But I think a lot of people don't realize Michelob Ultra is under that family. So they're getting away with something right there. And I'm pretty sure people are still ordering Ultras, not realizing it. So spread the word.
I know. Don't be fooled, lady. That's why you just drink the moonshine and you're fine. Hey,
exactly. Yeah.
I look forward to having you on all the time. Go ahead.
I said I stick with red wine.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
Why red, not white?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, I'm Italian, so the red wine, it just flows through our veins. It's how it always has been. Also, I don't know. White wine is just sweet and disgusting to me. I don't know. I never could get on board with it. Red wine all the way. And I even judge people that order white wine. So just if you're ever with me, just know that little fact.
Here's why I asked that question, then I'll let you go. Because every person that I ask, every woman actually, I'm going to be a little bit sexist here, says, you know what? White wine, too sweet, gives me a headache in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my wife.
That's it. I have a horror story from when I was younger, in college, and I drank a bottle of white wine on my own. And I was in bad shape the next day. I mean, one of the worst hangovers I've ever had of my life. So, sometimes it just, those things stick with you too. So I just can't do white wine anymore.
Yeah, I can't do Mad Dog 2020 and Boone's Farm. That's my thing. So
that's probably a good thing.
Yes. Charlie, thank you, my friend. Thanks for coming on. Enjoy this afternoon. Enjoy Nashville. Thanks.
Thank you so much. See you soon, Dan. Bye, everyone.
All right, can't wait till her show starts. It's going to be fantastic. OutKick just keeps growing. Yes, it does. We'll be right back.
One thing you'll notice is every pitcher will do this or this or this, and that's to get moisture for this. Okay, this is rosin, and the rosin bag. If you can probably see this, it's coming out. There's a little dust, right? It's like a little fine powder. Of itself, it's not sticky. Like I have rosin in my hand, it's not sticky. However, the second I do this, when I'm sweating, I make the rosin sticky. That's when I go back to the ball and rub the ball up to give me a little more adhesion between my hand and the ball. Now, here's the thing. If you think about this, if I put a fine powder on my hand and then I make that powder wet that makes it sticky, any dirt that I come in contact with is going to stick to my hand. All right. So what you're going to see over the course of a couple innings will be my hand will start to darken because it might look like a substance, but it's not. It's just sticky rosin that has dirt in it. Now, I was a guy, so here's the thing. I threw a split finger fastball, right? I did not want the ball to stick to my fingers ever. So I didn't want rosin in between my fingers. So I would wash the insides of my fingers between innings with alcohol if it got too sticky. However, there are other guys that throw sinkers, certain breaking balls, who will want the ball to be extra, extra sticky, and they'll just let their hand muddy up. Now, the umpires can certainly say, hey, listen, you got to wash it off. That's fine. But they have to acknowledge that just washing it off isn't going to change the fact that it's sticky, because you go back to the rosin, you have more moisture, it gets stickier. Your hand's going to look dark no matter what, right? And if you touch your hat all the time, you'll see that Major League Baseball players' hats a lot of times will get dark under the brim or dark at the cap. Also, guys like Gaylord Perry that used to cheat, they would use Vaseline on the inside of their caps. They would use Vaseline on the inside of their bottom lower lip because it stayed there. And you see guys that used to do this a lot. That was what they were doing, and then they'd lick their hands. Anyway, so your hand's going to be, so Max's hand was clearly in a non-agreeable state to the umpires. He went back. I'm sure he watched it, but he came back, and you could see the way he was arguing. He didn't do, in his mind, he didn't do it. He followed their orders. He did what they said to do. And this ambiguous rule needs to be fixed and changed.
"22 years. My next guest served in the military, both active and in the National Guard in the U.S. Army. He holds the rank of colonel, which means stand up straight, all you people watching this show. I mean, sit up. I mean, what are you doing? Hey, Sean Black and all you guys on the YouTube chat, sit up straight, get your ass going, and let's go. I want to get into something with you before I get into the gambling piece. How do you see the military and the NFL? I think it's a bit of a prop. I think everything the NFL does is a prop. You're a military guy. Curious your thoughts on the military and the NFL as a prop.
Well, I've railed against the NFL for the better part of 10 years now for their sort of, quote, alignment with the NFL, which is not really an alignment. It's a one-sided business partnership. The NFL does not seek out the military or Department of Defense's permission to do anything military related. They reach out to units directly and ask them to do a color guard to stand there with the flag or anything else. But what drives me absolutely insane is the amount of goodwill the NFL will steal from the military and push it onto their fan base like, oh, we care. We absolutely care. We care about the Army. We care about the military. Well, you do, because they help line your pockets, because you're Salute to Service Month selling all the green camouflage uniforms and everything else. And, we'll use the hashtag Salute to Service. And then the NFL gets to say at the end of this, well, we donated $10 million to military charities. Well, let's do some higher math here, Dan, real quick. 10 million divided by 32 is 312,000 and change. That's the average cost of a third string middle linebacker. So for a $1 billion organization, which each one of these NFL teams is, for them to sit there and say they donated $312,000, which, is less than 0.5% of their salary cap, it's nothing. That's like you and I putting $10 in, the collection plate at church. And that's the other thing, which drives me nuts about the NFL. Nobody brags more about what they put in the collection plate than the NFL. Like, I've never in my life came home from church and went, dropped a 50 in the plate today, guys. How you like me now? Like, nobody ever does that. But the NFL loves to do it. And you're looking at the picture right there. It's like, we'll throw a big flag out there, and we'll have a color guard out there, and we'll do our obligatory shot of Camp Arif John in Kuwait, which, oh, by the way, there are Camp Arifjan is safer than most major American cities right now, like Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago. Camp Arifjan is 1,000 times safer than any one of those cities. There's no danger in Camp Arifjan. But let's put the prop up there and make people believe that soldiers around the world and military people around the world are doing yeoman's work. And they are, but they're not doing it for the sake of the NFL. And the biggest problem is that not one single flag, not one single shot of Camp Arifjan, not one single donation gets the military one more recruit, doesn't make us more lethal. It doesn't buy us one more bomb, one more gun, one more anything. Does none of that. Nothing. So the military gets zero benefit out of this and hasn't for years, yet the NFL continues to reap benefits, takes goodwill, and makes money hand over fist nonstop.
The coach in the camouflage jackets and stuff just cracks me up because they act like they're supporting, but all they're doing, when you go into I live in Indy, the Colts gift shop, that's all they're doing is selling what the coach just wore. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they'll sell those sweatshirts at, $99 a pop. Oh, and proceeds go to, again, let's go back to proceeds here. Well, you and the sweatshirt maker and everybody else, reap a 30, 40% profit on it. The small donation that you're making in the grand scheme of things doesn't match up to what you're getting.
I don't know that I had this on schedule to ask you, but I got to ask you, yesterday or the day before, it looked like the Navy is recruiting using a drag queen. I'm not going to lie to you. That might be the lowest of the low that I have seen in all this ridiculous advertising world, Bud Light and everything else. The Navy using a drag queen to me was insulting, I felt, and I'm not even in the military. Give me your thoughts.
Well, the military has always desired that our force be diverse, right? That's what makes us so good at what we do, because we are a diverse force, and we should be proud of that diversity, and we should absolutely want it. But the idea of recruiting diversity over talent, to me, is silly. The military has a recruiting problem right now for a variety of reasons, none of which have anything to do with the military isn't diverse enough, because it is. It is absolutely diverse. And the bigger problem is that doing stuff like this, you're kind of underscoring the simple idea of just being a salesman. Get recruiters who can sell. The product is good. It works. The benefits are there. It's not the greatest salary in the world, but we stopped recruiting to people who had a desire to serve and started recruiting to a different base of individuals. And that's been the biggest part of the problem. But this doesn't fix the military's recruiting problem. Again, I don't think the military has a diversity problem. I really don't. Now, you could argue at the highest levels and the highest ranks, we need to be a little bit more diverse because, as you go up the pyramid and get promoted, Dan, it's tougher to break in. And so we need to do a little bit better job there. Like, we still shouldn't be at a point where in the military we're saying, hey, this is the first female general to do this. This is the first African-American general to do that. Like, that's, some of that could be fixed. But in general, the military doesn't have a diversity problem. We're from everywhere. We're from all over the place. We've got plenty of diversity. This doesn't make us more diverse. It sort of makes us look a little bit silly and like we're trying too hard to achieve an end state that doesn't need to be achieved.
That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't, I don't know. I think I look at military as very serious people doing a very serious job. I mean, I look at what I'm doing as a clown with a camera in his face. But military, to me, is very serious because people die, and there is no losing in the military. It is win, and that's it. And I just look at it, I maybe demeans, maybe looks silly, maybe that's a better way to put it as far as I'm looking at it.
I would say that, our product is what we should be selling. Like, if you want to be part of the most elite fighting force in the world, gain some skills that you're going to be able to use in the outside world, serve your country, serve a higher calling, and be a real patriot, a real American, go ahead and sign up in any size, way, shape, or form, whether it's active duty, whether it's the reserves, the National Guard, whether it's the Coast Guard, whether that's the Marines, whether it's the Army. There's a lot of options out there, but we've quit selling our product and started selling things that aren't important to what we do. I mean, the nation's military's sole job is to fight and win America's wars. Anything beyond that and anything working towards that goal is sort of hustling backwards, and I'm not for it.
Let's get to gambling, where you are an expert. This bothered me, and I'm curious your thoughts. NFLPA folks are advising agents that sportsbooks are snitching on players. I bet on DraftKings, and I've got a guy, I guess. He texts me. He goes, hey, look, I'm your representative, blah, 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 blah. Part of me is like, yeah, I want to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, when I want to do it, with as much money as I want to do it, or as little amount of money. I don't need anybody monitoring my action. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, snitching is just an awful word, and it was designed as in a headline to create clickbait. NFL sportsbooks aren't snitching on anybody. That's not what they're doing. The NFL and sportsbooks, several of them, have a partnership together. They're business partners. And their whole goal in business together is to make money. And the only way you can make money when it comes to sports betting and sports themselves is to promote the integrity and the security of the game itself away from sports betting. Dan, I don't know why we're still in this mindset, by the way, that a sporting event can easily be fixed. Like, it's one thing in 1970 when the average salary of a player was like $30,000 that you could offer them something more. But the NFL rookie's got a $20 million guaranteed contract. So unless you're coming to the table with $30 million, there's no reason for a guy to fix a game. Like, it doesn't happen. So you have to find other actors in this scenario in order to be able to fix them, because leverage doesn't exist anymore with players. Beyond that, NFL players walk into every NFL situation or every NFL team knowing the rules. Like, the idea that we're snitching on players is akin to the idea of saying, well, I'm blaming Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, and everybody else for speeding tickets. No, you know the rules. You know what the speed limit is as the driver of the car. You break the rule, not the car. Betting isn't breaking any rule. They're not snitching on anybody. And the most important point to remember is, with all the technology out there, guess what? The guardrails work. Dan, they actually work. Like, it is nearly impossible to cheat at sports betting and get away with it for any extended period of time. Could you do it once on a one-off? Yeah. But you know what happens when you cheat once, Dan? You kind of keep cheating. Like, ask a dude who's ever cheated on his wife. Like, you know, you got away with it once. Oh, let's go back to the forbidden fruit a little bit more, because you can. So the guardrails there, the systems are working. The systems in place are working, because we can figure out when you make a bet, where you make it from, who you talk to, because digital footprints are everywhere nowadays. And people are getting caught. That's a you problem. You're an idiot. You know the rules. You know that you cannot bet if you play in the NFL, if you play in Major League Baseball. They tell you this all the time. Guess what? Don't do it. It's really not a difficult concept. The same way I'm in the military. I can't smoke weed. Why? Because the military says I can. It's legal in Colorado. It's legal in other states. I still can't do it. Why? Because the military told me I can. I've hung around for almost 25 years, somehow managing to follow one simple rule: don't smoke pot. Oh, it's not that difficult, Dan.
All right. You got a big bet you like tonight. Give it to me, will you?
We're going to go under in Game 3 between the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns, under 225. Now, odds makers brought this number down. It was 229 in Game 2. The Chris Paul injury and both teams staying under 100 were enough for them to bring it down, but I still don't think it's low enough. Denver's defense is undervalued, okay? Even though they're a little bit worse on the road this year, they give up 111 points per game over the course of the season, 115 on the road. But here's the real thing, Dan. I don't know that matters, because without Chris Paul, I don't really know how Phoenix has any chance to score. You know what they did in the fourth quarter of Game 2 without Chris Paul? 7 for 25 from the field, 0 for 9 from 3. And you know the guys who scored buckets in that fourth quarter? Their names are Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. This team had no bench with Chris Paul healthy. They've literally got nothing now. The Suns have outscored opponents by 39 points over the 7 games with Chris Paul on the floor. If he's not on the floor, Phoenix ain't scoring. And guess what? That's a good thing for Denver. They'll be better on the glass, all right? They'll be able to keep the pace in their direction. And again, the Suns, 194 points in 2 games in this series. 28 of them came from their bench. That's 14.4%. There's no way Phoenix has enough scoring to push this over. Unless Denver gets to 120 on their own, this thing stays way under the total. This is the best bet of the weekend for me. Under 225, Phoenix and Denver.
Got to have you back, man. I appreciate you. That was great stuff, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it, brother.
Nah, that was really good. Are you kidding me? At Mark Zino, Z-I-N-N-O. You got to give him a follow right now on Twitter. I got to tell you, the energy. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, Mark comes on and he brings the energy. Last night, Anthony Davis, he showed up at the game. He was at the game, but it'd be like me doing the show. Well, thank you, Mark. That's great. I'm at the show. I'm doing the show, but I'm not being the show. Hey, we got a lot to get to. This second hour is going to be dynamite. Go to our YouTube. Go subscribe. Go follow. Get to the chat. They are they're rolling today. There's stuff going everywhere. And we got our friend Jeff Bacchetti coming on next. I said the name wrong. It is not Jeff Bacchetti. It's Jake Bacchette. Dumbass. We'll be back.
Yeah, folks, we are still talking about Bud Light, and here's why. The apology from Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth late last week wasn't a freaking apology. I'm not going to read the whole statement because, quite frankly, it's tone deaf and skirts the entire point, which leads me to believe this woman may have written it. But basically, CEO Brendan Whitworth said the company never intended to divide people, peace, love, inclusion, blah, blah, blah. Let's go, Brendan. You missed the whole point. And it's really so simple. Acknowledge that the partnership with a man who puts on a prom dress and pretends to be a teenage girl was a really stupid marketing move, and it pissed off your actual customers. It's that simple. But this apology, or lack thereof, has divided even the conservative community, with a very unlikely voice coming to Bud Light's defense, Don Jr.
Anheuser-Busch totally shit the bed with this Dylan Mulvaney thing. I'm not, though, for destroying an American and iconic company for something like this. Trust me, the memes have been so good. I'm sitting there chomping at it, like I want it. But like when I actually look into it, I'm not going to blame the whole company for the inaction or the stupidity of someone in a marketing campaign that got woke as hell. The company itself doesn't participate in the same leftist nonsense as the other big conglomerates. Frankly, they don't participate in the same woke garbage that other people in the beer industry actually do, who are significantly worse offenders when I looked into it. They'd be one of the more conservative-leaning companies in America. So they've been put on notice. I'm leaving them alone. I think you should probably do the same. If they do it again, they've been warned. But in the grand scheme of things, man, Anheuser-Busch, a lot less woke than the rest of corporate America. So I don't know that we want to kill the guys that are the least of the offenders.
So Don's perspective is that the Anheuser-Busch brand and family has been pretty good to Republicans over the years, so we should cut them some slack. I disagree.
Jake Bacchette joins us. He is the smartest guy that we will talk to. He's also the toughest guy. He is an Army Ranger. He played in the NFL. He survived Belichick, thrived under Belichick, and needs to be in Congress and needs to make sure, and this is the father in me, I think I'm older than him, you got to keep running. I don't care. You just keep running. Abraham Lincoln lost, and then he won, and now he's a great president. He joins us now. I'm going totally off script with you. I just thought of this as we were talking. You're the perfect guy to ask, Jake. I'm looking at our press secretary. I'm looking at our president. I'm looking at basically everybody testifying in front of Congress on the liberal side, and I've got this figured out. They're lying to us. The amount of lies, it is a strategy to just simply lie. The president has reduced illegal immigration by 90%, says the press secretary. The economy is the greatest it's ever been. Spend everything they say to us is a lie, because I believe they know something. They know that if you say it in the world that we live in, that is far more important than what the actual facts are. And it's pissing me off, Jake, that they're just lying to us every day.
Well, you're right to be angry. I think what's happened, it really is, to a lot of people who pay attention to these things closely, it really is shocking. You know, the term gaslighting always comes to mind for me. It's really fascinating to watch because I think as our political system has evolved, and like not to get too deep into this, but I think for a long time politicians had at least the idea that they had to tell the truth to their constituents in order to get reelected. That you had to at least pretend to say things that had some kind of relationship to reality. But I just think with all the money that's gotten into politics and their ability to manipulate the media, just the propaganda that comes nonstop from not just the corporate and legacy media, but from every single cultural institution that the left has captured, they really do control the narrative. It's like an Orwellian situation where they don't even have to pretend anymore. And that's the really scary part, is that they're done pretending. They're just going to straight up gaslight us and say the sky is green, and expect us to believe it. And even if you don't believe it, what they're saying is we have more political power than you do. That even if you are aware, even if you have taken the red pill and you're aware of your surroundings, you don't have enough power or money or influence to disrupt what we're doing. So I really think that they've reached the point of total institutional capture, that they're able to do that, and there are no consequences. I mean, look at Joe Biden. He ran for president in 2020. He didn't really campaign. He stayed in his basement the entire time. He just kind of glided through these massive scandals relating to his tenure in the Senate, his vice presidency, Hunter Biden, all the issues that were going on there. The American people were able to be gaslit through that. The election of John Fetterman to the U.S. Senate was a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, because here is someone running for a U.S. Senate, a statewide position, a major position in the U.S. government, and the guy was clearly physically and mentally handicapped by a massive stroke that was clear for all to see. But he still won the election, and he's in the U.S. Senate. John Fetterman. I mean, and apparently immediately upon being elected, he checked himself into the Walter Reed Center, to receive mental health treatment. So I mean, we've reached a level where it's just kind of a 1984 Orwellian situation where the truth really doesn't matter from their perspective. I mean, of course, from our perspective, the truth is important in and of itself, but in terms of maintaining power and holding power and their ability to control American institutions and manipulate public opinion, they're just going to keep gaslighting until they face the consequences.
And some of what they're saying, or a lot of what they are, Biden in particular, it's criminal. Like, these are criminal offenses that get overlooked, not investigated, certainly not charged. I got to tell you, Jake, I'm one of those people that I'm like, man, at some point, I got to believe even Democratic, liberals, whatever, are going to say, wait, enough is enough here. At some point, it has to happen, in my opinion.
Well, you'd hope so. You'd hope there would be a natural backlash, or a kind of the pendulum swinging back in the correct direction. But the important thing to remember is there's justice in law, but it's by what standard? A good example. I've been telling people in the last couple of days. There's been these violent incidents. There was one on the New York subway system. You had this very violent, mentally deranged guy who had 40 prior arrests. He had a hot warrant out for felonious assault. And he was subdued by some good Samaritans, and the guy tragically ended up dying. And now they're whipping up a mob and charging these people who were trying to restrain the guy with murder. They want this guy arrested for homicide. And I tell people that in these blue areas, in these very liberal areas, in these deep blue areas, you really don't have the right to self-defense. You don't have the right to defend yourself. You certainly don't have Second Amendment rights. I mean, yes, those are in the Constitution, but ultimately, who decides? If you're in an area with one of these woke leftist, Soros-funded district attorneys, and you're going to have a jury, that's most likely going to be composed of people who are leftists who hate you. If you have some, if you're someone like me who believes in the Second Amendment, who concealed carries everywhere, who is an outspoken conservative, if there were to be some kind of an incident in a blue area, like these guys on the subway, then you're only held to the standard of justice by which the people are judging you by in the area in which you live. And so it kind of goes back to our previous discussion. It's a pretty frightening set of circumstances because increasingly we're living in two different systems within the same country, and that's just not going to end well. I mean, a house divided against itself can't stand.
Do you think, I'm going to switch it real quick on you, do you think Belichick tried to screw the Jets?
Absolutely. So there's absolutely. Right. I mean, there's I haven't seen if he's denied this or anyone saying that he wasn't, but I'm telling you, there is some deep animosity between Bill Belichick and the New York Jets franchise. I don't think that's really a secret. But, I think the history is worth remembering. Bill Belichick, it's kind of a fun fact, trivia. He was actually the head coach of the New York Jets twice without ever coaching a game. He was named the interim head coach in '97 before they worked out a deal with Parcells. And then when Parcells stepped down in accordance with the deal they had worked out behind the scenes, Bill Belichick was named the head coach of the Jets in '99. Of course, then they had, Bill realized that Parcells was still going to be in control of the football, operational side. That was not the deal they had worked out, according to Coach Belichick. And so Bill had that infamous press conference where he resigned as head coach of the Jets and then became the Patriots head coach, I believe, the next day. And the rest is history. And then, of course, there were some controversies in the ensuing years. You had former Belichick defensive coordinator Eric Mangini become head coach of the Jets. There was some bad blood there. Obviously, Belichick and Rex Ryan, had some battles when he was the head coach of the Jets. And, just between a divisional rival, and with all of Belichick's history with the Jets, it would not surprise me at all if what he was doing in the draft was specifically designed to screw with the Jets.
I agree. Look, I mean, he's being petty. We're all petty in certain ways. I mean, we all, people don't ever want to see, your ex-wife or your ex-fiance marry up. Nobody wants to see that. And it's no different in sports, man. I mean, hey, look, it is. Hey, I got to ask you, I just had another military guy on, Mark Zeno, and I got to ask you the same thing. I mean, look, I get inclusion, I get all of it, but what the hell are we doing in the military, particularly the Navy, recruiting via drag queens? That seems beneath the armed forces.
Well, I've been giving my my friends who are Navy veterans a lot of grief over the past couple of days.
I bet.
But unfortunately, it's not exclusive to the Navy. I mean, every branch, has been doing some really insane things lately. And again, the Army announced for the second consecutive year that they're going to miss their recruiting targets. And I think this is going to be a consistent theme going forward. You and I have discussed this on this show before, and this will continue to be a story because, as I said last year when the Army announced this for the first time, I think that there's been a true crossing of the Rubicon moment of military veteran families. They're looking back on their time. I served with a lot of guys who spent 15, 20 years fighting in the Middle East and in Afghanistan and Iraq. I deployed to Iraq myself. And, there's when you see these videos coming out, with military installations, not just allowing, but actively promoting drag queen story hour and, the military, the big DOD, the Pentagon, putting multi-million-dollar ad campaigns behind, these types of people and lifestyles that are just totally anathema. It's against, everything that, most people who serve in the military, particularly, combat arms, frontline type units, those are red-blooded American patriots. Those are our people. And, at the end of the day, I think a lot of a lot of military families, a lot of families with multi-generational, lines of service. They've let go of the rope, and I don't say that to denigrate them. I say that to say that the military has lost the plot. And if you're doing things that are actively repelling the people that make up your number one recruiting base, you've got a decision to make. Do you pull a 180 or do you double down? And I think this circles back to our initial conversation with the lying and the gaslighting. To me, it looks like they're doubling down. To me, it looks like they really don't care anymore, that they are trying to replace they're trying to completely cycle in a new group of military personnel. They're done with the red-blooded American patriots, the guys who are from the be all you can be recruiting commercials. They're done with a few good men, and now they're going for the drag queens.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Like, even Obama, or not Obama, we're going to pay people in other countries big amounts of money to teach this stuff. We just saw that with Biden. This is an ideology that, for whatever the reason, I don't know, we're trying to take over with $500,000 grant to Pakistan to teach transgender youth. I don't understand, with all that's going on in our country, I don't understand why this is even a thought out of this administration.
Well, yeah, and it's just kind of insult to injury. And again, I think that this conversation dovetails in with the military recruiting crisis, is because people realize that hey, we were sold that hey, we're fighting for freedom and democracy and spreading good things around the world. But really, I'm not really so sure about that anymore. And I think a lot of military personnel and veterans are asking themselves the same question. I mean, is that what we're fighting for? You've got John Kirby, the DoD spokesman, and Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, saying that. I mean, these are direct from their mouths. They're saying that a key aspect of American foreign policy is raising the rainbow flag all over the world. And I mean, they're very explicit about that. They're very candid about that. They're not ashamed of that. They're not trying to hide that. And that's, if you're someone who wants to serve in the military, you've got to ask yourself that question: like, is that what you want to fight for? To raise the rainbow flag in Pakistan? When, as you mentioned, we got plenty of problems here stateside. I always go back with this conversation about foreign aid. We send billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, all around the world for, countries that are not America, to support their populations and support democracy, whatever that is. But, like back in President Trump's administration, they said $4 billion to be appropriated to build the wall. That was too expensive. So it really, those are the types of decisions that are made inside our government. And really, to circle all the way back, what they're betting on, Dan, is they're betting that the people either don't know or don't care about these things, and that they're just going to keep, voting for Democrat presidents and senators, and they'll be able to just keep gliding along. And, so far, they've been proven correct.
Yeah, no question about it. It's sad. Hey, I appreciate you, Jake. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Yeah, Jake's absolutely right. I mean, look, you got the bravest of the brave going to fight. What am I going to fight for? So I can put a transgender flag or a rainbow flag and pass? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And that's why it's important that we elect guys like Jake. All right, I got some headlines that I want to get to. OutKick asked ESPN if the fat, ridiculous, racist Kendrick Perkins actually stands by his comments that MVP voters should only vote for an African American or something like that. I don't even care what he said. In fact, I'm going to do what Joe Biden and Karine Pierre-Jean do. I'm just going to make up my own show. You know what I mean? I'm just going to make up my own show. Kendrick Perkins said that you're a racist if you don't vote for Joel Embiid. How about that? Every guy, there's been like 5 white MVPs, and this clown stated, well, you know, and he won. I mean, I would imagine that nobody listens to this idiot. I would imagine that nobody says, well, I got to see what Perk thinks. Really? Okay. Yeah, Perk, what do you think? But I would also imagine that there's a lot of white dudes that if they voted for Nikola Jokic, they're like, oh, man, this is all going to come out. Look, you got to have some stones at some point. You got to have some nuts. And you got to say, hey, Perk, screw you. I'm voting for who I think. I mean, is Joel Embiid really that valuable? I mean, I don't know. First game in Boston without Joel Embiid, the 76ers won the game. Second game in Boston with Joel Embiid, they lost by 6,222. That's what they did. Is he that valuable? Hell, I don't know. He had 15 points, 5 blocks. Yay! I don't know, but if you get influenced, I'm just going to say this. If you get influenced by Kendrick Perkins, then you are a fool. You are a stone cold fool. Kendrick Perkins should influence nothing other than the restaurant he goes to's tab and profits. Other than that, there is nothing interesting the guy says. He is a race-baiting clown, and anything said by him should simply be ignored. Dan, you just spent a lot of time talking about it. I know. And I'm not proud of myself for it. I'm really and truly not. All right, next headline. Hunter Dickinson, the kind of pain in the backside center from Michigan, who left Michigan, whined about the coach, Juwan Howard, setting the offense up too much for his son, did not lead Michigan to even to the NCAA tournament as the Wolverines sat and watched. He has committed to Kansas. Great. Yay, rock, go fight, win. It's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a quandary because Kansas, according to everybody, had to give Hunter Dickinson upfront money. Now, you say to me, well, what's wrong with that? I'll tell you what's wrong with that. That's not what the rules, if there are any, of NIL say you're supposed to do. NIL means name, image, and likeness. And it was set up for a guy like Hunter Dickinson to make a ton of scratch playing at Michigan, meaning you play well as a freshman, your name, image, and likeness. Here we go. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to do things. You're going to endorse. You're going to use your name, your image, and your likeness to promote yourself and your brand and make money. What it has become is pay for play. What does that mean? That means I want upfront money, damn it. I want money now. You've got to guarantee me $500,000, $1 million, whatever, and I am coming to your team. Is that bad? I don't know. Do I really care? No. I used to care about these things. I used to say, hey, look, here's the deal. You're a cheat. I don't care. You're a cheat. I don't like you. You're a cheat. Now I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Now I'm like, if I went back into coaching, I would work every day to secure every dime of NIL money that I possibly could, and then I'd go out and buy everyone. And then I would go the other way. Instead of Mike Woodson calling up these idiots called the Hoosier Hysterics and saying, look, Jalen Hood-Schifino needs another $100,000, I would tell him, look, you don't start playing better, I'm withholding money. That would make me last about 10 minutes. But I wouldn't care. At some point, sometime, someone has to stand up and say, look, you are not going to Anthony Davis me. You want your money? You better show up and play. You want your cash? You better get 20/20. At Indiana University back in the day, I want you to think about this. The great Joby Wright used to tell this story. Joby was a really good player at Indiana. And what they would do at Indiana is they would put their shoes outside of their dorm room. If they got 20 points in a game, and now this is 1970-something, there'd be some cash, $20 or so, 10 rebounds, more cash. Pay to play. If you're going to do pay to play, then do real pay to play. Here's a contract. First thing, If we win the NCAA tournament, make it like a coach's contract. Hunter Dickinson, you get this amount. If we win the Big 12, you get this amount. If we win the Big 12 tournament, you get this amount. If you average 20 and 10, you get this amount. If you don't do that, you get this amount. If you show up late for practice, we're going to fine you $5,000. If you're a pain in the ass, we're going to fine you. That's how it should be. And how I think it is going to be. I think there are going to be contracts that are going to get drawn up between players and teams. I do. This is interesting. He made it clear he wanted upfront money. Goes directly against what is supposed to happen. This goes directly against human decency, and it is in college basketball. Kid named Deuce Benjamin. Let me back up a second. New Mexico State basketball has been in the news. New Mexico State basketball, 99.999999999% of you don't care even a little bit. You don't care even a skosh. Then you read about something and you say, well, that's horrible. All right? That's awful. No, really. You read about it and you say, well, man, I don't like that. Deuce Benjamin and another kid who I'm having trouble saying his name, Wandi, something like that, great dudes, apparently. They went to go play basketball at New Mexico State. Deuce Benjamin's dad, William, is an Aggie Hall of Famer. All right? Shak, Odunewu. These two were physically and sexually abused by their teammates. All right, now, I'm going to show you this video. It is way different when you see this on video. It is way different than just, New Mexico State's got a problem out there. It's Las Cruces. Who cares? I see it on cops, Albuquerque, Las Cruces. No, watch this video. This hits home for every parent out there of a kid playing sports. Watch this.
My child has been failed. My family has been failed. And as a father, I feel like I failed my son for putting him in this situation. I'm sorry. As a former player at New Mexico State University, no behavior like this was ever present, nor would it have been tolerated.
There's a part of me that hasn't been the same now. And I want people to know that. I've changed.
Take your time, brother.
You got it. You got it. It's all right.
Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Come on. Finish it up. Finish it up. Finish it up.
Coming into our freshman years, our concern should be along the lines of, how are we going to play? How are we going to stay on the court? How are we going to be dominating this program? Not, are we going to be safe?
Their lives have been turned upside down, and in a very public way. In a very public way. So what we're trying to do is get them, New Mexico State's been talking about its fresh start. Well, this isn't going away. It's not erased. These gentlemen deserve fair compensation to get a fresh start, and they hope to change things along the way and to make them better.
It's just gut-wrenching. I don't care. These kids were sexually abused by idiots. And here's the deal. Greg Heyer was the coach, and I've talked about the dirtbag that is Greg Heyer. Those of you that understand Indiana basketball, you understand the names Jamarcus Ellis, and I don't even want to say the other idiot's name, DeAndre Thomas. They came from Chipola Junior College, where not only, excuse me, did Greg Heyer come from, but Chris Jans, the previous coach that hired Greg Heyer, came from. They're all dirtbags. Jans just got himself a contract with Mississippi State. Jans got out of there a year ago. Everybody thinks Jans is this great coach, and he may be. But Jans is the guy that hired Greg Heyer. Greg Heyer's the head coach that had this going on, where kids were assaulted, kids were raped with things. In the locker room, Heyer did nothing, but Jans is the guy that hired Heyer. And Jans sits there at Mississippi State making $3.2 million. I know college basketball better than anyone. I know it better than anyone. No one's implicating Jans, but it's a mafia thing. You're the guy that brought in the guy. And yet Jans is sitting over there at Mississippi State, and he is happy, right? Oh, yeah, hey, I got out of there. I'm at Mississippi State. People think I'm doing a great job. I just signed a new contract. Tell you what, it infuriates me. I mean, I was tough on kids, but there was going to be none of that crap. I yelled, I screamed, some kids didn't like it. I MF'd, I did everything that you're not allowed to do now, but I don't care. I know what I was trying to do, and I know what that father said right there. You know what? It was never tolerated. It shouldn't be tolerated. It's not tolerated anywhere else, and it's ridiculous that these idiots, including Chris Jans, have been able to go about their life. I hope Greg Heyer goes to jail. I hope Greg Heyer goes to jail, and I hope somebody gets smart enough to say, wait a second, what's Jan's involvement in this? Because this is crap. This is absolute garbage that this goes on anywhere. And I got to tell you, I remember a friend of mine went in the summer to a school. He goes to a school, comes back. I'm like, hey, how was it? We were going to be freshmen. I was going to Indiana. I'm not going to say the school because I don't really have this verified. This is 40 years ago. Comes back, he goes, man, these guys are jerks. I mean, there's this hazing deal. They're beating the hell out of us. And I'm like, wow. All right. I was so glad that at Indiana, we had none of that crap. Yeah, you worked hard. Yeah, at night we fought. Yeah, we did all that. But nobody had none. There was none of that crap. I mean, we sit there, Chris Jans, somehow Chris Jans, the coach at freaking Mississippi State, has escaped any scrutiny in this. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe I am dead wrong. Maybe. But I'm not wrong. As you guys know, you guys can like me, dislike me, whatever you want. But you guys know I ain't wrong very often when it comes to things inside college basketball. I am not wrong very often. And Chris Jans set this damn thing up. And I'm a big, big believer in the mafia. Big believer. You're the guy that brought in the guy. You're the guy, Jans, that brought in Chris Heyer, or whatever the frick his name is, Greg Heyer. Dirtbag bringing in a dirtbag. And now you see, that is gut-wrenching to see that. Gut-wrenching to see a father breaking down. Gut-wrenching to see a kid say, hey, man, went to play basketball, and now there's a part of me. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. We'll be right back.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader.
I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life.
ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the #1 overall pick.
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna lib. Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown. People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose.
The scary thing, Tommy, is in the history of this government, I've never seen them give anything back that they've taken.
Oh no, they never do.
And they won't.
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it, people.
I believe this person is the greatest player anybody alive will ever see. How can you hate Derek Jeter? A guy's on base percentage tells me his batting eye, and a guy's slugging percentage tells me if he's a threat. That's the kind of guy that throws a no-hitter, that effectively wild guy.
The YouTube chat is absolutely pumping. We are rocking, we are rolling. It just pisses me off that I'm going to sit there, subscribe, like. Let's get up to 300-400 likes. Chat's been down the last couple of days. We're going to get that right. Hot mic coming up. Charlie Arnold is going to join. I am going to because, well, this is my business. I am, and I want you to know this, I am and have applied for a blue check mark, and I'm going to pay the money. It's my business. It's my freaking business. What can I tell you? When it's your business, it's your business. You do what you do, baby. And this be my business. All right. Let's woke-a-dope it. And then at 10:45, our friend, the great Vince Lodel, America's greatest horse handicapper, is going to join us. All right, woke-a-dope. What do we got? Bernie Sanders calls for an income tax over $1 billion to be taxed at 100%. People can make it on $999 million. There you go. That's cool. Tax the rich, baby. Look, I don't know. What do I know? Does anybody have an income over $1 billion? Like, I'm not saying people aren't worth $1 billion, but we went through the list yesterday of all of the folks that are, what's the right word? The 10 richest according to Forbes magazine. And none of them were making $1 billion, richest athletes. Maybe people are. Maybe people make $1 billion a year. Hey, if they do, God bless them. You know, I'm great. Tax them. But don't send the money to the Ukraine. Look, it's the first time I've ever not wanted to pay tax. I'm not saying that I've loved paying tax. I'm not saying I've enjoyed paying tax. But this year's the first year. I'm like, wait a second. You're telling me my money is going to where? You're telling me my money is going to fund Ukraine? What about what's going on in our schools? What about what's going on in our world? What about that? Is that so ridiculous that of me to ask what is going on there? No, it's not ridiculous. Of course it's not. But, ladies and gentlemen, I paid my taxes because that's what you do. It's what you do. It's how you go about it. It's just simply what we're supposed to do. And I got to tell you, it's a load of crap. When I see where our money goes, and I know it's an insignificant deal, but I know that whole thing about Reflation Induction Act, and I see $1 million of our tax money going to that frickin' Michelle Obama's walking trail in Chicago. Pay your own damn walking trail. It just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. It does. Makes me nuts. Makes me insane that our money is going to the Ukraine and we got a bunch of people pouring in over the borders. And look, I don't know if the media will ever cover it, but if you think all these people coming across the border funded by cartels are going to go be on the Chamber of Commerce, you're out of your mind. I'm with you, Otter Creek. What business is it of Bernie Sanders what a guy makes? What business is it of anybody what a dude makes? Will somebody explain that to me, please, please, please? I'm all ears. I want to hear. Look, whatever I make, I don't need some government clown involved. They are, excuse me, they're already involved. And I don't like it. I don't like none of these people. What's next? Jackasses. Oh my God. She is named the AI czar. She is named to czar. The fact that she is named to czar anything is a slap in the face to Americans. It is simply a slap in the face. Why do I say that? Simple. She, Kamala Harris, as the border czar, has been a complete and utter train wreck. And when I say train wreck, a dangerous train wreck, somebody that is putting every single day lives at risk. Every day. And when I say every day, I mean as we are speaking right now, people are coming across the border. Those people are not going to be on your Chamber of Commerce. She has not slowed it down. She speaks gibberish. She is not respected by anybody, anywhere, anytime, other than maybe, just maybe her husband. But even her husband knows her past. So how much can you really, truly respect? I don't know. But I know this. If AI, artificial intelligence, is really important, then she wouldn't be heading it. If you went by past performance, she is there as a diversity hire again. When are we going to stop with the important diversity hires or the important jobs made for diversity hires? Look, I'm watching ESPN this morning. And they've got these correspondents, Slappy Johnny from Oakland, Susie Rottencrotch from here. And they're children. They're horrible. But everyone is a diversity hire. Every correspondent, Stephen Holder, the guy from Indianapolis here, is horrible on TV. He's nervous, he speaks bad, but he's African American. They hired him, they put him as the Colts correspondent. He's awful. Whoever was doing it on the NBA, live from Philadelphia, live from Boston, they were children. Channel 50 in Northwest Indiana, a public station with Les Milby and John Tennant, were better than these children. Fine. That's where you want to put your diversity hires. I got no problem with it. Let Stephen Holder be on my TV. I don't care. But Kamala Harris is running AI, which is going to be the next big thing that we got a problem with, if it's not already, and she's running the border. All because she is an, I guess, African-American woman. And she's dumb as a bag of sand. A bag of sand, Sean Black, could do a better job on the border than this woman is doing. Yet we give her another job. It's un-effing believable. Stunningly stupid. Immeasurably dumb. But that's what we do for diversity. Pete Buttigieg, he said the other day, I don't know if I want to be the transportation secretary. You're lucky you got a freaking job. If you were a straight white dude, you wouldn't have a job. You're so inept. Man, this is what our show needs to be. This show needs to be more of me. More of me. More of Vince. My friend Vince Lodel is joining us. Those of you that have watched, paid attention, Vince, turn on your video. Those of you that have watched and paid attention to our show over the years know that my friend Vince wins us money, period. It's just what the man does. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, and I know, ladies and gentlemen, that we like us some money. My man Vinny, how are you, my friend? Uh-oh. Turn on your mic. He's
on.
muted. All right, you're good. I got you. All right, Vince, I got to go kind of quick here. You landed on the 14-horse Angel of Empire. Walk me through this, big boy.
Sure. So Angel of Empire, winner of the Arkansas Derby about 5 weeks ago, won it stylishly, made a nice sweeping move on the outside. And the thing that I really like about him is that I think there's more there. He's the type of horse where I don't think he's reached his bottom yet. And, 8-1 morning line odds. I think he's going to get bet down a little bit, actually. I think he'll be happy to get like 6-1, maybe even 7-1. But when all is said and done, he's my top choice. I don't think this year it's as wide open of a race as it was last year or even 2 years ago. I really think there's only 3 or maybe 4 horses that you can make a solid argument for a win bet. And one of them, I don't even think is the morning line favorite, Forte.
Vince, Tappet, Trace, Kingsbarn are the other two that you like?
Yeah, they're the other two that I think are logical win bets. I don't like them as much as Angel of Empire. Tappet Trice was very game in winning the Toyota Bluegrass over at Keeneland about a month ago. Similarly to Angel of Empire, I think there's more there. But I like Angel of Empire a little better. And Kingsbarns, he's 3 for 3 lifetime. He's 12-1 on the morning line. I understand why he's kind of being dismissed a little bit. His wire to wire win in the Louisiana Derby was slow. It was a slow race. But if you go back and look at his other 2 races prior to the Louisiana Derby, he made he sat off the pace very nicely, made nice moves in the stretch. I don't think Kingsbarns is going to be the type of horse that's on the lead in the Kentucky Derby. I think they'll be, the pace is a little tricky to figure out, but I don't think he'll be on the lead, and that'll be a better trip for him. And if he can sit that type of trip, he's definitely a threat to win.
The scratches, 2 horses scratched. There's been concern at the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs about a few deaths. Practical Move and Lord Miles. Does that impact the race? If so, how much?
I thought Practical Move was a legit win candidate. There's actually been 2 more scratches. There was another scratch this morning. The number 9, Skinner, is out. But of the horses that have scratched, I think Practical Move was the only one that you could make a little bit of a case for a win bet. But I liked him underneath more than anything. And of the horses that have scratched, none are really critical to the pace scenario or anything like that. I guess of note, of the 3 horses that are now drawn in from the also eligible list, the 22 Mandarin Hero is a very interesting horse to me. When you first had me on your show to break down the Derby back in 2017, I talked about there are types of horses in the Kentucky Derby that like to run underneath, and I refer to them as fearless closers. In 2017, as much as I was adamant about Always Dreaming being a good win bet, I was really adamant that you needed to use Looking at Lee, who was 20-1 on the morning line, underneath on everything, and exactas and trifectas and whatnot. And he went off at 33-1 and ran a very clear second in that race. Back in 2014, there was another horse similar. Yep, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yep. In 2014, there was another horse similar to that named Commanding Curve, who I refer to as a fearless closer. He ran second at 37-1. I think there are 2 horses in this race that I would define as fearless closers. Mandarin Hero at 20-1 is one of them, and the other one is the 11 horse Disarm, who's 30-1 on the morning line. Disarm speed figures are not going to overwhelm, and he should be 30-1 in this spot. But I think he's a horse on the rise, and he fits my description, at least from past derbies, of a fearless closer. And I love fearless closers in the Derby because they can pick up the pieces underneath and build up your exacta and trifectas.
Hey, you got to be careful. We saw last year, right? You got to know exactly who's in the race before it starts because all of a sudden someone off of a T-shirt that isn't even there is going to win. Let me ask you, the 14th spot for Angel Empire, is that good, bad? What's the concern there?
It's fine. It's a fine spot for his running style. He's not going to be on the lead. He's going to look to be mid-pack. There are other horses to his inside, which I think will go for the lead. A little bit of a concern that he could be hung out a little bit into the first turn. But overall, I think he'll be able to cut out a good trip. His jockey, Flavian Pratt, is excellent. He's ridden it, even though he's a California-based rider. He's ridden at Churchill several times, and I think he'll get him into a good spot. And I think he's on the best horse. And if you get the best horse, a clean trip, that's the way to win.
All right, let's go through it. So you're like the 14-horse Angel Empire. Give me an exact, give me something you like.
Sure. So, like I said, my other two logical win bets were Tappet Trice and King's Barnes. I think they'll be there. So using those horses in an exacta would be good. I also like I said, Disarm and Mandarin Hero. I like their late running styles and where they can pick up the pieces late. And I think you could definitely use them in an exacta or trifecta underneath. A couple other horses to consider. The 3-horse Two Fills. He's a tough read as far as his last race was at Turfway Park, which is a different surface, poly-track surface compared to what they run the Kentucky Derby on, which is dirt. But it was a visually impressive race. These horses are still very young into their racing careers. And that race was visually impressive enough where I think Two Fills is a horse to consider underneath. There's a lot of buzz on the Japanese horse, Derma Sotogaki, the 17. Look, I until one of these guys comes over and wins, because it hasn't happened yet. The UAE Derby winner, there's been a lot of steam. I fell into the trap in 2019 with Mendelssohn, and he ran 19th or something like that. It was horrible. But generally, these horses have yet to come over and do anything in the Kentucky Derby. So as much as that horse had a visually impressive win in the UAE Derby, until they show me that they can win this race or be competitive in the race, these are horses I generally like to fade. I am using him on my bigger trifectas in the 3rd spot only, just because, I think this has been their best shot that they've sent over from out of that race. But until they can actually win it, he's a tough horse to endorse, at least for me.
I got you. Nobody follows it better than my friend Vince. He watches film. He gets it going. Cubs going to hang in there. I see the Fergie Jenkins jersey, which I love, my favorite all-time pitcher. Cubs are okay. Are they good enough?
I'm a lifelong Cub fan, and I've followed it, and I'm fortunate enough to be there every day at Wrigley for work. And I just think they're a couple pitchers away. Excitement today, obviously, with them calling up Matt Mervis. Haven't seen the official move yet, but they do have to make some sort of roster move. Look, I like what they can do starting pitching wise. I think they're one stud starter away, and I love what they do defensively. They're a very sound team defensively, but. Hitting, they started out great. This last week was a little rough for them. I think they're, when it really boils down to it, I think they're a couple bullpen guys and maybe one starter away from competing for, a wild card spot this year. Vegas said they were supposed to
Appreciate
win
you.
78 games this year. I think, I think they're probably closer to maybe an 82, 84, 85 win team this year, which would be a little ahead of pace. And they've got a lot of young talent in the pipeline. So, it's exciting now. It's definitely better. You have something to look forward to compared to the last couple of years.
Appreciate you, Vince. I'm going to be texting you all weekend, my friend. You're the best. Appreciate it. Have fun at Wrigley. See you, brother.
Sounds good, Dan. Thank you. Take care. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, that's my friend, Vince Lodel, the greatest horse trainer that you don't know. It is on the YouTube chat. My friend Ryan Mueller put it on the YouTube chat. I'm going to be sending out his picks. If you want to DM me or if you want to send me your email, I'll try to get it out to you. He basically, what he does is he gives you his picks. If you want to make a $100 wager, he gives you all kind of different stuff to do. It's fun. It's really, really fun. It gets you invested. It puts you in a position where you can't wait for the Derby. I think it starts around 6/17, I think, is when it officially goes off. Today's the Oaks, which is the ladies, the fillies. I've got information on that. I'll send it to a couple of guys that want it. But hey, look, that's what we do. We're going to win you money. The bet of the day from our new friend Mark Zeno is the under in the late night game, which is Phoenix taking on Denver. Under 223 or 225. I put it in while he was on our show and we were talking because, well, frankly, I want a late bet. I'm going golfing today with my friends from QC Kinetics, the two guys that own it. I'm going to take some money from them because, frankly, well, that's what I do. It is a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful weekend here in Indianapolis. If you get a chance, go outside. But mostly I want to say thank you to everybody on the YouTube chat that shows up every freaking day. Our show is the fastest growing show in the country in the mornings. And there is a reason for that. It's because of your loyalty. Dan, I can't DM you. You must have me blocked on Twitter. Jen, there are a lot of people that I have blocked on Twitter, including a guy that I just blocked on Twitter, but not you. I just text you. I don't know what I did. I must have done something stupid. I do not know. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to get it squared away. So I may have your email, though, but I will email out Vince's picks. It is a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of fun. When you have picks, you have a bunch, horses come in, you're rooting, the next thing you know, did I win? Did I get it done? Did it happen? I don't know. Cashman, let's go to thecashmanwins.com. He will help you with all the information that you need. Subscribe. I mean, what the hell? It's cheap and you're going to win it back very, 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 very quickly. Can we smash the like button before we leave, please? Before you leave the YouTube chat, subscribe, like. Our subscriptions are going through the roof. We're going to hit 1 million here probably by the end of June. We're already at 746,000. Dan, I can't email you. Dan, are you able to email me? I don't know. I'm going to try to email everybody. And don't forget, last thing, our golf outing, July 10th. Thank you, Sean Black, for signing up. July 10th, go to my Twitter. I'm going to pin it up this weekend, the registration. People are starting to sign up. If you want to get a team, there's only 32 teams available. You best get in there right now. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Aaron, Charlie Arnold, Jake Baguette, our new friend Mark Zeno, my friend Vince. What a freaking day. What a week. I'm going outside. I may just roll around in the grass naked. I might. It is such a nice day. I think it's thong season, ladies and gentlemen. It might be time to get out the Danny D thong. We'll be talking to you on Monday. Thank you, everybody.